Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I need to tell you this story. I was taking some items, some food, breakfast, and some frozen waters, the water with electrolytes, to the folks who live outside. Now, I purchased less because once they were removed from downtown, there are fewer and fewer people who come into town on Sunday. But as I was on my way to do that, I saw a man carrying everything he could possibly carry, everything that belonged to him, everything that was precious to him, everything that was dear. He was obviously having a difficult time. I was talking to my sister, and so I asked her to stay on the phone and just hold on for a second. She did. I asked the man if he was okay. He said, I'm trying to get to, and he named a place. And I was like, oh, okay, where is that? And he told me. And so I said to my sister, can you stay on the phone? I'm going to give this guy a ride. I don't think he's going to bother me, but I would love for you to speak life into him. So he got in the car with all of his belongings, trying to pull them all inside, finding a place. He got inside, and my sister began to just give life to him. Dr. Connie, we call her Bob. Anyway, she spoke to his heart. She spoke to his heart and told him that God loved him, that God was with him. Whew, that young man who was so burdened down, I thought was really old. But when I looked at him again after she spoke life into him, he looked much younger than I had thought. Anyway, I got him to the place, and there were all these people, and I realized where everybody was going. He said, there's a place, and it'll open in a while, and if we can get here, we can go inside and get some breakfast. He said people from different churches and places bring food, and we get to eat that. And he said, but we get to be inside from the cool. It's a cooling station for people who come in on Saturday or Sunday. There were hundreds of people standing around looking for something, and all I had were a few donuts, some croissants, some biscuits, but I had that ice cold electrolyte water that had been frozen the night before. When I got out of the car and he got out of the car, he came around to help me, and others came up and they said, if you have anything sweet, I would really love it. And I said, I do. And so I started bringing things out and saying, will you share? And they all said, of course we will share. Of course we will share. We are all in this together. I shared everything I had, and I had wished for more, but what I gave was good. One man came up after everything was given out, and I said, I'm so sorry I don't have any more, but maybe someone has something left to share. And he said, that's all right, sister. Thank you for thinking of us. Well, I went back to church and remembered that I had written an article in our church newsletter, and it was talking about the displacement of folks. And one woman had asked me if I had a large piece of luggage so she could carry her items. Well, when I got to church, Sister Margaret and Brother Stephen had brought some of those pieces of luggage, big giant luggage for them to carry things. I had planned to take it to our food program, Emmaus House, named after the story in the Bible of Jesus on the road to Emmaus. Anyway, so they have these giant luggage, and I said, well, I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to find that one guy who was so burdened down. I go in and I'm looking for him, but he's smiling so brightly, I don't recognize this man. And I walked past him, and I looked to some other people, and I talked to some other folks. And I came back and I said, are you the guy I gave a ride to? He said, that's me, ma'am. That's me. Thank you so much. So I said, I have something for you. He said, for me? I said, yeah, just sit here. I went to the car, Stephen's car, because he drove me over. And so I went to the car and I got the large luggage and I wheeled one of them over to him. His eyes lit up, and now he was looking like a 6-year-old. And he said, for me? For me? He rolled it back and forth and just stared at it, kept rolling it back and forth because Margaret got a brand new piece. He just kept looking at it. He said, for me? He opened his flip phone and called his friend. He said, man, I got a whole house. I went inside, a woman I had met earlier who was lugging her heavy bags, and I gave her one of these pieces of luggage, and she said, you have no idea what you've done. Tears just streamed from her eyes. Then there was a woman there who was working or volunteering, And she said, well, we have to put the larger things outside. I said, that's okay, ma'am. The larger things are going to go outside. I said, but for some reason, I feel like this bag is for you. I really do think this bag is for you. I don't know why. It seems kind of weird, doesn't it? I'm sorry if it's rude. She grabbed me in her arms and held me, and she said, who told you I was looking for luggage? And I said, what? And she said, who told you I was looking for luggage? I've been looking, trying to get a piece of luggage because I got a trip coming and I don't have any luggage. And the woman who was working with her said, I was at Walmart all day looking for a piece of luggage for her. How did you know? How did you know? And she said, I'm going to say your name in prayer. I said, say Margaret's name. Say Margaret's name. And she smiled and said, I sure will. And I just began to smile at the unction of the Holy Spirit to tell me where to go and what to do. And Stephen was smiling, and we got in the car and Stephen gave me a fist pump and he was like, whoa, whoa, that was so good. I was like, yeah. And it didn't take a lot. The joy on their faces. And then one woman touched me on the arm and she said, ma'am, you're the woman who brought that water. I can't thank you enough for that ice cold water. If you want to see some hope, do some hopeful things. I love you.